Hey guys, welcome to another commentary done by Diggity. I feel like it's been a while since I've casted TVT. Also, I want to shake my fist at the organizers. They should spread it out so it's not TVT and we lose a Terran moving into the next bracket. I'll actually be sad to see either of these guys drop out. I would have loved to see them actually all the way to the final. Be happy to see. It's enjoyable when there's the diversity. Diversity, it makes everything better. I would do a color swap since we have red and pink, but unfortunately it would go yellow-yellow. Kind of ironically, it was red and blue last match, which is the classic top versus bottom color, but go figure. Nesh starting upper left-hand corner as the pink Terran. Bottom right-hand corner we have Kik0 starting as the red Terran. This is going to be on a large map, which is Radion. Cross map. We'll see how this goes. This is obviously Radion, a gigantic map, and at cross map, I don't think the early vulture pressure plays as well. I don't feel like factory pressure plays as well. Interesting aspects of Radion is it's just a huge open center. I do feel like this is one of those crucibles of TVT though, because being able to cross this map and you got to keep vultures active at all stages. I think it's particularly important in the mid game that you keep vultures active just because it's so hard. Like other maps, they're lanes and there are large areas to contend, but on this map it is so wide open. Just look how wide this area is, that there's usually a pocket to punch through. So usually you can hold your quadrant, being the 3 bases in the top left, and oftentimes kind of make movements towards another base, either at the 3, usually at the 12 o'clock or 6 o'clock. But past that, you can just see where it is just a huge amount of surface area to try to cover. And so I do feel like just going for positional play TVT can be somewhat challenging. So oddly enough, even though I don't think the Mass Vulture in the early game is all that effective, mostly because of the ability to shut that down quite quickly across the natural with some clutter, and because of the distances at cross map and otherwise, I do think that Vulture movement in the mid game is absolutely critical. But anyway, SCV scouting top right for Nesh, SCV scouting bottom left for Kik0. I believe they're both going to come across each other at nearly the same. We got a factory dropping at 230 on one end, 230 on the other. These guys very close on build order. Nesh building another SCV is slightly later. Pretty fast. I think 228's the fastest I've seen a factory. And I think that was a pro replay. I swear, like I want to say, I heard somewhere that 224 is possible. I'm not sure I believe that though. Also, I'm not a Terran player, so don't quote me on any of that. But anyway, second Marine in construction. Nice timing here from Nesh. So Kik0 has spotted the base, but isn't going to get any additional scouting information. Second Marine scrambling. Nesh is going to start floating out. Marines on the low ground. Nesh is going to be able to draw back that SCV. He's taking a few extra shots in the derriere as he's pulling back across. I think it is going to be one Voltron to expand for both players, as is the correct play. I'm going to say it, correct play at cross position like this. Nesh slightly later on that command center, not anything to write home about. Interesting, Kik0 trying to keep the SCV in a nearby pattern to maybe push forward and get some additional scouting information without having to dedicate the Vulture, but this initial Vulture is going to stay back for Kik0, and I think, yeah, Nesh, so got the SCV kill right there. I think he's going to start moving it out on the map to go ahead and push across and try to confirm. Could lead into a Vulture versus Vulture fight, in which case Nesh would very likely lose. Also, he's been spotted mid-position here. So needs, and this is he just going to drop past? No, just going to leave it to take some damage and die. Now the defense at the natural expansion gets a little bit more dicey for Nesh. Trying to get a bunker up. Again, at cross position, we'll see how this plays out. A second SCV coming off the line to finish the command center. This was in the midst of a machine shop. Kik0 actually has an opportunity to get a lot of damage done. But he's got to focus those Marines first. Oh man, he could have, oh, he lost an opportunity there. Could have popped in, picked the SCV, and then picked the Marines. Instead, turning right back around, and that is going to give Nesh an opportunity. He dodged a bullet. Command Center is going to end up finishing a decent time later. but at least Nesh is still alive in the game, somehow up 2 SCVs in the space of this. I think that's just the nature of the build order. Third factory dropping. 3 factories all nice and lined up here for Kik0 as well. And now begins the initial, but I do want to mention that Kik0 has dropped an armory behind this. So it's possible he'll get initial mines out and then maybe flip right into Goliath as far as a follow-up. We will see. We will see. I will say there's kind of an interesting initial stage battle with Vulture versus Vulture at this stage of who can get further out into the map and get mine coverage a little bit better, and that can oftentimes provide a lot of scouting information in the mid game. 4 Vultures making their way across want to see the factory count. They're going to in fact see 3 in a machine shop in the space of this. These Vultures a little bit stranded out here. If Nesh pokes out, he doesn't have anything to scout, but if he poked out, he'd be able to get the scout. Goliath now spawning, which is going to reveal the fact that there's an armory out here, which might make Nesh a little bit more active on the field with his mines here at the initial stages. He's going to lose that barracks a lot more rapidly. But yeah, now recognizing, okay, there was a Goliath in the space of this. I think he's going to be able to spot, so second Goliath, but no siege tank as of yet. So now Nesh should think about getting a little bit more aggressive and getting some mines while he can. Barracks going to burn towards the north, eventually fall. Some additional clutter on the front here from Kik0. Second machine shop dropping in the midst of this. No vulture speed. It looks like Nesh going to hold and wait. Is he also getting an academy on top? I'm wondering, did he get mines? A little bit. Never mind. Skipped mines. I am a little bit befuddled. I was expecting mines a lot more rapidly at this stage. He's gone several vultures, has gone vulture speed. But without the mines, actually, we'll see how this plays out. He'll have a lot of vultures, but it's really the mines that make this a lot more formidable. And right now, Kik0's army, with the Goliaths, etc., could actually do considerable amounts of damage here and potentially punch through this. However, at the moment, I mean, it sees these vultures. This is a full control group. The one problem for Kik0 is the way he's moving, and at the angle he's moving. This might work out for Nesh because he might be able to get some pickouts pretty quickly here. In the meantime, Nesh has dropped a huge amount of SCVs. He's actually got a 10 worker lead. Has his own siege tank out in the front. Mines coming out a lot later. I think this makes a lot of sense though. At cross position, which is, you know, you can just kind of defensive slot this a little bit more. Might as well invest in it a lot later. Whole bunch of mines dropping. We had the 2 comsats that were expended. An SCV sneaking in very late for Nesh. Going to be able to see the 3 factory, by the way, and the double machine shop. And with the mine planting, Kik0 has to sit and wait for comsats. The vultures slipping through the lines are going to see a complete lack of defense underneath. And now Kik0 needs to retreat immediately. Otherwise, he might end... Well, okay, is he going to... Careful, Nesh. Might be able to drop mines here in no man's land. It looks like he is in fact doing that. The SCV actually wandered out to repair that barracks as well. Want to note that. But this is, yeah, another emergency clutter drop here from Kik0. And all of a sudden he has 2 siege tanks and some other troops that are basically gift offerings mid-map. And Nesh has all of a sudden got a huge amount of mines and should be able to deny the 3rd without too much trouble. This is forcing Kik0 into 5 factory. He does have 3 mines there at the 3rd, but that should be a pretty easy cleanup for Nesh. Nesh has gone up to 3 machine shop to equalize the siege tank count. And this army versus this army, this is basically just a sacrificial stranded army now for Kik0. And he's going to have, it looks like he canceled to go ahead and get units back out. Trying to comsat. Needs to be a little bit careful because Nesh can still sweep down and pick off stragglers here, and if there's still some mines, which it looks like there are a few, might be able to plant them and pick off the siege tank as well. Yeah, tank trying to draw back and siege, but Nesh really doing a great job kind of utilizing them like a scalpel. 5 factories up for Kik0. We have a command center ready. And 6 factories up for Nesh. 7th factory added on. A lot of siege tanks, not a great reinforcement location here. Looks like a few troops trying to barrel forward. They want to comsat and clear the mine, so there's an equalizing, a reinforceable engagement point. The Vulture's going to try to harass that back as best as possible. That Vulture going to get cleared out. Do we have a comsat from Nesh is the next question. Looks like he's building it. Really solid timing. Nesh looking really sharp here in the match. Going to go ahead and drop that comsat and clear out the mines here, likely to grab that third sooner rather than later, at which point he's going to be able to run the heavier factory count much more rapidly. Where did that additional comsat go from Nesh? That wasn't Nesh's comsat. It looks like that was Kik0's not comsat. Now I'm getting confused. Attack from both directions. Going to go ahead and clear out the mid-map section, and with this, Nesh has effectively pushed in and secured his upper left-hand quadrant. There, we do have some Vultures folding through. Oh, that was huge. That was a lot of dead siege tanks for Nesh. More mines getting planted to halt that additional command center. Kik0 recognizing the trouble in the long term, if he allows that to plant. Does he got it? Yeah, he's got his command center near finishing. And a great job on Kik0's part to delay, to provide additional delay here, to halt this as long as possible. Vultures waiting on the wings to try to clear in, continue reinforcement. We've got some Goliaths in the space of this as well. This should be enough to overwhelm. I don't know what you should focus down first. It looks like the Goliaths are going to get pecked away at. And Nesh, in the midst of this, also grabbing the 12 o'clock very bravely. More siege tanks and Vultures making their way this direction. Gonna clear the mines. Is he gonna have the wherewithal to retreat? He is retreating. The command center waiting for something to clear that mine there as an additional base for Kik0. And Nesh way up on supply off that 7 factory. Should be able to, so I think Kik0 might be thinking he's in a better situation than he is. Unfortunately. You can see where he's got kind of, remember what I was saying at the beginning, where this is kind of the stage where Vultures can really control. Because it's very, you can hold your quadrant, but it's very difficult to hold a lot else. And Nesh has managed to weave another group of Vultures mid-map and get some more mines to cut off reinforcements. Which is again leaving these 4 siege tanks somewhat stranded. Command center up at the 12 o'clock. Do we have saturation? No saturation there as of yet. Command center just dropping from Kik0. Nesh has another command center. Is he going to float it all the way to top right? That would be kind of cute. Nesh regrouping. He needs to be a little bit worried about kind of an elite task force sneaking his way across. It looks like he's just going to try to push across mid-map to clear out these siege tanks. Yeah, getting a nice pincer attack, the Vultures that were out on the field, cleaning that out quite rapidly. And now Nesh actually might be able to bear down if he moves fairly quickly. Needs to be very careful with the mines. He's got nearly a full control group of siege tanks versus just the 4 siege tanks otherwise of Kik0. It looks like something got up there to the 12 o'clock and exploded immediately. But Nesh with a little bit more movement will basically be able to seal Kik0 in kind of a sweeping maneuver towards that bottom right. Kind of expand the view. And you can see where Nesh has got a lot of territory to cover. And with a punch attack, you could probably clear out. It looks like we have a Vulture waiting here at the 6 o'clock. He's going to get 2 free kills right there. Just kind of small mistakes here. Command center is going to float all the way top right, by the way. Some Vultures have slid in between. And they're going to get a lot of kills at the 12 o'clock. A little bit of a delayed response here from Nesh. Vulture swinging in there for him. +1 weapons, by the way, complete on both sides. Hurts for Nesh, but he's still pretty even on the worker count despite all the losses there. Defensive Vulture making the way in. Will be able to finally clear that Vulture here to the 6 o'clock. Mine does not drop. Nesh still up 30 supplies, so he's got a lot to work with. He still has to worry about these 4 siege tanks and these 3 vultures here at the 9 if he wants to grab that base. Dropship is going to find that command center top right. Next question is can it do anything about it? Does Nesh spot it as well? Okay, he spots it. Making his way to the north. A couple siege tanks making their way in to go ahead and provide some defense for the 12 o'clock base. But upper right, not yet saturated. There's the vultures dropping. One vulture losing its life fairly quickly. The other siege tank going to ward off any additional attacks. Nesh kind of swarming top right, expecting a drop there, but nothing. This is actually working out kind of to Kik0's favor, because Kik0 down a significant amount of supply in the space of this. How are we looking at factory count wise? 9 factories up for Nesh. Looks like we are just getting up to 9 factories on the opposite side here from Kik0. Is that right? Sorry, 8 on the opposite side for Kik0, which doesn't bode well for the long-term economics here. An SCV trying to wander up here for Kik0. I think he was hoping of grabbing this base. Is he going to try to build it? Yeah, he's going to try to build a turret underneath that factory. Or underneath the barracks to go ahead and wipe that out and push it off. The thing is this is still in the pocket. Like, eventually, Nesh can just clear that fairly easily. And Kik0's additional problem is it looks like he's got the 6 o'clock complete, but he doesn't have a lot of map control outside of this. He's already kind of boxed out of bottom left and boxed out of top right. And Nesh, ooh, losing a few troops on the edge, which he can afford to lose. But starting to seal things along that right-hand corner. A few more dropships that are empty, just there to spot. Gonna be able to hit a little bit else on that corner. Do we have some? We do have a Goliath pushing it back a little bit. Nesh bleeding a little bit of troop out. Kik0 trying to press forward. I think he just lost control of that vulture movement. Nesh spotting the siege tanks mid-map, debating his next move. Kik0 actually preemptively trying to block off the bottom left. I think recognizing he doesn't have a lot of access to it. But he does still have, as a long weaving line, he can still move troops across the southern route and kind of up into this window a little bit. But that's right at that's right into Nesh's rally. Kind of waiting for Nesh to do something about this upper left and then seize that base. In the meantime, though, he's maybe just thinking, okay, if this goes into long-term macro, eventually I can just slot back and take that. He's got upper right working for him. By the way, this is the stage of the game I was talking about where Nesh is particularly scary just because of his really, really solid macro. He is starting to swing around. Yeah, gonna clear these siege tanks, taking minimal losses in the process. Maybe didn't even, I think he lost a siege tank, maybe some vultures otherwise. The rest of these vultures gonna try to scoot through. All they're gonna be able to do is scout a bit of an army, maybe plant some mines as an emergency. But that'll get cleared up pretty quickly here. In the meantime, recognizing he's got to make moves somewhere, making a dash mid. Did manage to get a bulwark of siege tanks forward, but getting caught again on either end and taking some significant losses. Where Nesh is losing, it looks like vultures here and there. Kik0's losing siege tanks, which he can ill afford to do. He is getting some good press towards the upper right, which might open up an avenue, but Nesh has a sizable reinforcement lane that looks like he just on the edge of range gonna, wow, just really going to seal this across. And you can see where this is starting to look ugly. Kik0 trying to, so he cycled some troops bottom left. Nesh now grabbing his 9 o'clock. Is Kik0 just going to start? I think he's going to try to plant a command center here bottom left, but the problem is the vultures from the bottom left-hand corner can just cycle. And if Kik0 gets caught moving troops out of any position, Nesh will just continue. They'll just fill in the gaps. An array of turrets, by the way, top right, to deal with any sort of drops. Nesh is going to catch these SCV bottom left before they're really able to accomplish anything. Cut to the quick. We do have 4 dropships. Only 3 Goliaths in there. Is that 4? 5 dropships. But in the grouping, okay, we got some some Goliaths, some vultures, and some siege tanks to maybe do something. One vulture able to get through the line there. Dropships cycling up. I'm not sure if that was spotted by Nesh or not. Siege tanks trying to fill in across the edge. Nesh looks like he's distracted top left. I think he's keeping... It could be that Nesh has already spotted it and he's just trying to anticipate location right this second. I think Kik0's upgrades a little bit. Never mind. +2 level 1 armor. Same thing, opposite direction. Nesh will hit +2 armor a little bit more rapidly. So dropships hugging the edge. I don't think Nesh has seen this yet. And if this drops on the factory line, this could be a sudden shift. Is that going to get caught? Some dropships. Now I'll see how quickly Nesh can load up his own dropships to go for the counter drops. We do have some turrets that were in the way. And so 2 Goliaths make it out. A few Goliaths make it out, and it looks like that might be it. What they did, though, is they did see a starport start to construct, which gives them forewarning that maybe there's going to be a tech shift here from Nesh. But that was a lot of supply dropped and a lot of tech dropped for not a lot. Command center being built bottom left, but Nesh is already fully operational and saturated top right. Yeah, he just keeps pegging at 200 supply. He's got 3,000 in the bank. Kik0, in the meantime, is running out of gas in his mineral bank and is still having trouble getting to that critical 200 point. Does have 4 machine shops behind here off the 8 factories. I think he's building some additional factories someplace else. Counter drop from Nesh bottom left. Try to clear out that siege tank line. Looks like he is going to have sufficient troops to wipe that out. And Kik0, upon that attack, going to draw in along that right-hand side to try to threaten Nesh's holdings in the upper right. Nesh is just going to unsiege and meet them on a line, however. Kik0 also abandoning that location bottom left. Yeah, Nesh can just siege short, and that's... I think he got the siege faster, so that... But the Goliath eating the first hit. Kik0 trying to dive in underneath this. Already had some factories constructing. 4 Goliaths and 2 siege tanks make their way in. The SCV is going to try to defend themselves. But that is going to be it from this army, and that was a big supply loss from Kik0 to try to press into this. He's getting turrets and maybe halting some factories briefly. And the dropships now making the way up towards the top right to go ahead. I think they're just there to spot. But Kik0, as you can see, he's just been pinned back. He's getting some SCV kills, but it just feels like it's too little too late. He needs to break out of that bottom right-hand quadrant. And thus far, he's been unable to, nor has he been able to really halt Nesh's holdings. He's wiped out some turrets, and that's basically been it. Kik0 getting a little bit desperate, starting to throw units mid-map. Does have +3 weapons, but Nesh about to hit +3 weapons as well. I wonder if he was hoping whether that +3 weapons is going to make the difference, but recognizing that he's boxed in, that Nesh has a huge macro lead and likely a bank behind it, he's going to GG here. We're going to move on to game 3. Nesh now up 2-0. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for listening.